I have a question to Professor Balcerowicz. The question is very short, actually. Are you optimistic or pessimistic? And to elaborate a little bit on that, do you think we are going towards being more clients of the state or even over state organizations, or vice versa, we are going maybe away from this model? Thank you.
I am neither optimistic nor pessimistic. I try to be active, not to be subject to various moods. First of all, it's important to have a goal, what to change, what sort of a model one wants to create, and it should be a model which gives more freedom within a good legal framework and less dependence on the state, first. Second, one has to from a given situation worse than they were intended to this intended model, and this has two components. First, intellectual. For example, if you inherit a huge pay-as-you-go pension system and pensions are financed by taxes, you cannot stop it from one day to another. You cannot deprive pensioners of the pensions. So you have to devise a transition, like pension reform in Poland, which we started in 1997. It takes time, so intellectual problems. But the most important problems are not intellectual, but mobilization, call it political. In democracy, there are always groups which for ideology, beliefs, trying to expand the state or keep an expanded state. Some politicians are interested in power, so they would be against privatization, because privatization meaning taking away the power, giving it to private people. Some people, once you grant possibilities of expanded benefits, there will be many people who would make use of it, and they would defend it. So you have a belief system is the problem. Sorry, is this working? Then the state has to solve this problem. So a sort of clientelist mentality. I am not stressing it to say that it's hopeless. I am stressing it to know what's the problem you have to deal with. And you have to be very effective in persuasion. You have to be better in persuasion. Call it propaganda or persuasion. You have to target various groups, opinion leaders, in order to neutralize, call it a statist or populist stream, which always exists and will exist. It is present in the US and present in Poland, present in France. So this is a constant challenge, and we have to win it. And if you don't try, you lose it. If you try and you are efficient, you win from time to time. So this is the choice. So I am not subject to various moods, but I am trying to mobilize public opinion for what I consider to be a good model. So.
Other questions over here? Okay, let me go to the back, a little toward the back. I'm going to try and kind of move around the room.
Thank you. Bartosz Wilk, Caliber Society, Krakow. I have a question to Dr. Lar. Because, as I know, you are also a member of European Parliament, and I'm very curious about the atmosphere there, actually mostly about the atmosphere recently, because we have another crisis, large crisis in Europe, and I'm very curious is in people in European Parliament are nowadays more into state, or they are somehow seeing that there's a problem with the state or the welfare state in Europe?
Thank you for the question. I am currently not a member of the parliament. I was there, so I have seen, and I still have a lot of friends, and sometimes are participating in different commissions and so on. So we can answer as everywhere. It depends. First of all, start to look which parties are more pro-business orientated and which parties are less business orientated. And then you can count most of the Social Democrats out. And then you can count big part of the liberals out, which are even sometimes more left as the Social Democrats. And then it comes to the EPP group and the other, we can say, more center-of-right groups. And it's so and so there. There are very largely depends from the countries. It's very hard to explain to the French, by example, that to selling the Mistral military ships to the Russia is not maybe the best idea, even as it's giving some work to the French workers, when the Russians are enough stupid to spend such an amount of money currently on these ships. And to explain to some other countries some realities of the market is not easy, but majority of the EPP group, from my experiences, as I am connected with many people and with the leadership, are quite not quite, but quite actively supporting the market reforms and understandings of the dangers, especially in the current situation, the dangers of failure. What we see in Europe are very clear. The big problem and big question under discussion is what to do with the countries who are failing, by example with the Greece. There is not very active will to just endlessly pay for the mistakes done in some other countries from the taxpayers' money of these countries who are doing better, especially as these countries are paying heavy political price for supporting the Greece. The price what Angela Merkel and German Christian Democrats paid for this decision is, if we can say, really terrible. And actually we will feel, all of us, this price, because it means that the German economic reforms probably will fail during the coming years. There will be not enough majority for the CDU and liberals to get through the tax reform. This means the tax reduction now, after this failure in the last local elections in Germany. So unfortunately, this Greece crisis has created more problems as anybody expected. And now it's a question, is that going forever? When you fail, you are just launching fantastic pension system. When you are in the state office and you die, your pension will be paid to your daughter, and all such a very interesting and creative system how to spend the money are there. And even when you are planning to do the small cuts in the public administration, then big part of your country gets to the streets and burns down some banks. Actually, it's not very good feeling that you must be endlessly supported. And now the question is what to do, because of course we are talking a lot about the Greece, but many European countries are in trouble. That Great Britain is in the similar trouble as Greece, actually, when you looked on the deficit of their economy. And we can only really hope and pray that David Cameron government, who is, so far as I understand, tomorrow will launch the £6 billion cuts, will really do it. And these 6 billion cuts are nevertheless, unfortunately, too small to really even to target the problems which the Great Britain is facing economically. Which means that first of all, there must be a clear system. When somebody in the Union gets over of these limits and start to run the unhealthy deficit, then it's actually must be reaction from the European side. And this reaction was just offered by the Finnish I think maybe coming Prime Minister, currently Finance Minister Jyrki Katainen, who said very bluntly. And I can say in the EPP group this understanding is quite clearly there. Will it means that there will be enough political will to really do such a steps? We will see. But the only political family who can really do this is the EPP probably.